All right, let's get started. So I'm Mark. I am from the partnerships divisions at Energi, and today our guests are Neer and Ruby from the XP Network. XP Network is a multi-chain NFT bridge project, and today's space revolves around all of the issues and the universe of NFTs. I'll hand over the floor to Neer and Ruby, and also amongst our speaker panel is Zaki. Zaki is our lead strategist and project manager at Energi. So whatever coordination comes in project execution and planning, Zaki is the one that has been leading that. He's also one of our chief designer of the documents that you see on Wiki for Energi. So the governance documents, the staking and all of that, and also one of the original architect of the support system that Energi still has. So I'll hand over the floor to Neer, Ruby, and Zaki, if you want to go ahead.
All right, so I'll give a quick review about XP.NETWORK. It would also be amazing to get a quick recap from you guys on everything that is unique about Energi, and of course that we know part of that from our previous discussions, but it would be great to shift for everyone that is tuning in the conversation to focus on those both sides from XP and Energi. So without further ado, XP.NETWORK is a multi-chain NFT bridge. We started the project back in 2021. XP.NETWORK main goal, and actually single goal, is to facilitate the bridging of NFTs in the most easy and seamless way between one chain to the other, without making any consideration at all regarding to the chain is EVM or non-EVM or anything like that. XP.NETWORK development team led by the talented Ruby, co-founder and lead engineer that is with us here today, and we'll also speak more about the integration process of Energi and XP.NETWORK and what could be done for when the integration would actually take place. So XP.NETWORK right now has more than 30 mainnet blockchains that are connected to the bridge itself, from EVM and non-EVM alike. And the uniqueness of the technology is that we are making it super easy and possible for NFTs to move between one to the other, again, regardless if it's an EVM or non-EVM. And also the unique thing is that those NFTs that are moving between one blockchain to the other is just as much as if you were to mint this NFT on the other chain. So that means, for example, you can actually mint NFTs on, let's say, on Binance, on BSC, and then you can actually move them and bridge them to Algorand, for example. And all the properties and all the features and all the uniqueness of that NFT, royalties mechanism, and any kind of unique properties that are defining that NFT or collection or SNFT are moved completely to that other chain, to the point that it's just as much as if you were minting those NFTs on Algorand, and it would be like those were non-EVM NFTs from the very beginning. Ruby can speak more about the technology, how we can actually make this whole thing happen. But from my side, I can say that we're very much prouding ourselves with hundreds of projects and actually thousands of projects, NFT dApps, that we are in the process of talking with, getting them connected, and actually getting the process going all along. We are very much excited to where the NFT market and the blockchain market specifically is actually going. I actually speak more about this as we go down to this call. But overall, this is a quick recap of XP.NETWORK and what we've been doing to this part. It would be great to get a quick review from you guys as well.
Zaki, you want to go ahead, and I'll let you do the most of the talking for Energi today.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'll let you talk about the security aspect of it, maybe focus more around the NFT part of project that we have. So our project is called Gonna Make It. That is the marketplace we're building. We're very close to releasing our marketplace on mainnet. And it's an iterative process. You know, we've been developing for over 2 years now. But as anybody in the development space will tell you, you know, there are so many unpredictables. So we're getting very close. We're very close to releasing our product. And the biggest thing, there's other marketplaces out there, as you folks know. We take pride from a chain perspective, the security within our chain to be able to secure assets in our chain. And also from a marketplace perspective, a lot of the other our competitors, they're removing the royalty from their platforms. We feel that creators should receive royalties if they so choose. If they don't want to, that's their option. If they choose, they can opt in and get royalty for their NFTs for life. Say any post sales and what have you. So that's something that we're very excited and happy to provide as a service. Now our goal is to have different collections build and deploy on our chain. That's the preferred way. But we also know that there are so many existing NFTs out there in Ethereum, Polygon, BSC, what have you, Solana. And we want to make sure that people can seamlessly bring, with a couple of clicks, be able to bring their assets into our platform and be secure, And one of the reasons we're partnering with XP Networks, if you look at their site, they have so many certifications from a security perspective. They take security very seriously, as we do. And that's something that, we feel that there's some synergies from that perspective. So that's all I'd say, and see, what people have in question, and then we can try to answer that.
Thank you for that, Zaki. And that's a great overview. I want to say one thing regarding to marketplaces, then maybe Ruby can weigh in a bit more about the work that we've been doing with different marketplaces at this point, is the fact that different marketplaces actually popped into the market to that extent that we can actually see them from, at the beginning it was like just OpenSea, and then we saw like big ones like Blur and other ones that amazing that came along to the space. But one of the big things that we actually saw from 2022 and so is the fact that new marketplaces are joining into the different blockchains, and this is something that is actually like, I would say, like a launchpad in some form of actually describing it for different NFT collections to actually be on their way to be utilized on different kinds of things and ways for like games and like contracts and like lotteries. So basically, the marketplaces are a great place to see all the types of the NFTs that specific blockchain is actually facilitating or minted or bridged to. And those NFTs, which is cool to see, are actually being used on different kinds of utilities and different kinds of ways on different depths that are being populated into the market. So marketplace is a great way to explore. So especially if you guys are building that on Energi right now.
Ruby, you want to talk more about the technical aspect of, the project?
Yeah, sure. Let me weigh in a bit. In the following couple of years, we've seen a lot of integrations of XP.NETWORK in a couple of marketplaces. And what we've been working on over the past 1 or 2 years is improving on our API, right? We have our API, which is basically an NPM.js package, right? You just install it, a couple of lines in, very, very quickly, you become multi-chain. So we've seen a couple of marketplaces using it. Especially there was one on Multiverse X, which has integrated a couple of collections that were transferred from Ethereum, from Polygon. And it was a very exciting process, right? Because the development team, we are using this package ourselves. We have a couple of teams here. Every team is working on a different component. Over the years, we have gathered quite a bit of components, actually. And you see a very nice ping pong between the UI team and the API team, right? Which is it's very nice to see, and to see people coming in and taking this library and using it themselves is very, very, it's fun and exciting. You use libraries yourself and you develop, and then people come in and use your libraries. It's a tool that you've developed and used actually over the past, over a long time. It's very nice. We also have another very, very, a much simpler way. I say a much simpler way because you don't need a developer to integrate it, right? We've seen many projects integrate our bridge widget. You basically just come in, you change colors, you change fonts. It's very, very simple, very, very easy. A couple of seconds, and you have your website, your DApp, your mobile app. You can use iframe, you can use WebView of Android. You become multi-chain very, very easily. This is my small take about becoming, multi-chain using XP.NETWORK very, very easily.
Perfect. Let's move on to the factor which is plaguing the industry to like exponentially and kind of like, giving us a bad name amongst people that have yet not adopted crypto or NFT space, which is obviously the security. We're getting tagged as, a place, a dark, shady place, and all of the bad things that come with that. And I can foresee it happening, as our founder, Tommy rightly mentioned, is because of the lack of governance. Like where I am right now, if I'm driving a car, I can't, break a red light. And the reason why I can't is because I know there's the repercussions to that. And because I know there is a solid governance from the smallest things like breaking a light to stealing to like, committing a big crime. And that happens because of good governance. I see that governance not being prevalent on many chains, and that's the reason why we have that security lapses. And the scariest part is most of the retail users like you and me, like ordinary people like you and me, they don't realize the magnitude of asset loss until it hits them. And when it hits them, it's too late. Like most of their careers are over. Like, their savings are gone. They have to start fresh. I mean, it's not easy to build a strong crypto portfolio and just see it like burn in front of your eyes. Like imagine like, you have like hundreds of thousands or just say hundreds of dollars, and it's your life savings and it just vanishes away. Like, and if you're passionate about it, you're a collector in an NFT space and it just goes away. Like, your one wallet gets hit, your other wallet gets hit, and you've already spent like hours, using security dApps, learning security, and it still happens. And the worst part is you can't get the assets back. So let's focus on security. And I'm quite intrigued, Ruby, how does XP.NETWORK assures their users about their asset security while using a bridge?
Yeah, I'd like to weigh in here as well. Governance is also not always such a good idea, right? We've seen what happened with FTX and other exchanges when there was governance, right? People put their money there, and it was basically gone. So I don't think governance is such a good idea in crypto. It can cause a lot of issues, as we've seen before. In XP.NETWORK, we've been running, knock on wood, over almost 3 years now without any hitches, without any issues, right? We take security very, very seriously. We take our users' assets very, very seriously. It's people's money. We have to take care of it. You have to handle it with care. You must be very, very cautious with any changes you're doing, any new software you're developing, right? It's something that must be taken very seriously. When I look at code, I look at it. It needs to be dumb. It needs to be short. It needs to be simple, understood, with no options. with no, not many options for things to become to happen, right? You cannot give any option in the code, right? The code must be very, very simple, very easy, must be looked on by professional eyes. If you can have many professional eyes looking at it, like all the audit companies that we have taken to look at our code, to test our validators, to test our bridge smart contracts, to test our UI, to test our security, to try to hack our domain accounts. There are many ways to hack a DApp, right? It's not only via the smart contracts, right? People think that the smart contracts is the only way, but there are many other ways. I've heard of very smart hacks, and where there is money, people will attempt to come in and hack, right? This is where there is money, people will attempt to come in and hack, because it's worth to put in money to get more money, basically. This is, I know it's very simple. This is just the way it is.
But just in case, Ruby, if that D-Day does happen, and we are all humans. Like even at Energy, we always think like, our philosophy is just inbuilt in that, like, at the end of the day, every system is there will be set up for failure. It's part of, like, universe. Like some of the systems fail, and if that D-Day does happen, what would be the recourse for users if they do lose their assets? Like, is there any way that they could get their assets back, recover, or what are the contingency and mitigation plans for such an event if it does happen?
For such an apocalypse event, there's always a plan, right? You always got to plan ahead. You always got to know what's going to happen. And it's basically freezing the NFTs, right? We freeze the NFTs via the multi-chain SIG. We replace the ownerships. I mean, some assets will be lost, right? If we're not quick enough. It's basically how quick we react. But the plan is there. The D-Day plan is there, of course. You must always plan for it when you're a multi-chain project. We're working with off-chain validators in the end of the day. And at the end of the day, these are servers which we constantly replace. We're always replacing the servers, replacing the keys, changing passwords, 2FA, everything that you can do, always pen testing, everything is being constantly tested. We're looking for abnormalities on the servers themselves all day long. This is what we're doing. But like you said, the D-Day might happen, and when it happens, we are definitely ready for it.
I'm going to share a different perspective, Ruby, if I may, on governance, and that's the beauty about crypto is we can disagree and agree to certain things, but what makes us civil is the fact that we are bringing innovation to the space. We are working hard. The fact that itself, like XP.NETWORK, is thinking about asset security for users so seriously is changing the narrative in crypto space, and it's something that other projects have failed to do. And so as the narrative shifts towards more security, let me explain how we at Energy, we prepare for D-Day and how our system is tested. So I'm going to give you two examples, very leading examples. You're right. So there's a difference here. When I talk about governance, usually I need to be more descriptive. I've been in Energy for too long. I need to be more clear when I'm outside of the sphere of Energy. Governance, in the sense, is decentralized governance, where community takes all the decision on chain are executed by community. So the way that happens on Energy is, and I'm giving you a very plain scenario. Like if I'm a user, I have an NFT on the Energy chain. And it gets stolen. Like I click a link or something weird happens, and it's gone. The first line of defense that we have framed, and these are all simple concepts, like any project could adopt it. But the key ingredient to it is definitely the governance part, which is the decentralized governance. And I'll come back to it as I'm talking about it and why it's so crucial and really hard to replicate. You get instant alerts. Like you sign up with your wallet, you can sign up wallet alerts on our blockchain in a smart contract way through our Nexus portal, and you get instant alerts. So anytime your asset moves, you get immediate alerts from the event, zero day event where your asset got stolen. You have 3.5 days to report it, get action on it, and get it back. So a user actually
Guys?
reports it to our community. Oh, you want to go ahead, Neil? So he reports it to our support. The support is there because not every individual is as tech savvy. So he comes to our support, which is on our Discord right now, and he reports the incident and everything. Now that part is like, we are verifying, our team is verifying whether, what happened and directing him what to take the next steps for. So he has to interact with the governance smart contract. He has to sign it from his wallet of theft, and he has to, sign it like, that's the evidence that he's submitting on his behalf. Like, this is my wallet, and this is what happened. This is actually the bad actor that stole my wallet. This is the transaction ID. This is what actually happened. And the first step is the governance vote, basically. And Zaki, correct me if I'm wrong in the sequence of all of these events. So it's the vote is placed in front of the community, and the first vote is obviously a freeze vote, so that the bad actor, cannot run away. He cannot escape. So once the wallet is identified, a governance contract is placed to vote, and here comes the most crucial element of Energy, which is the community of voters, which are the layer 2 masternodes. Over 500 of them. There are 500 plus masternodes on Energy. That's staggering. I do a lot of crypto research. I haven't found more than 150 validators on any other chain. Like Polygon is close to like 110 or 20 or something like that. Solana is like almost in the same range. Ethereum is not more than, I think, 50, 60, but correct me if I'm wrong. And so Energy has over 500 plus nodes, 500 plus master nodes that have governance capabilities. So they vote to freeze the wallet because they have the evidence provided to them by our EBI team, the Energy Bureau of Investigation. They provide all the evidence. They do the evidence taking on behalf of the user. The user obviously will have all the channels to submit his evidence. Like, he can go out in public, he can go out in every way he can. And once we get a quorum of 10% votes, the wallet automatically freezes of the bad actor. And then the next he has to do, like, see, here's the most differentiating part of why Energy, this is why securities are niche. The pain part is not, you're taking action against the scammer. The pain part is whether I can get my assets back or not. Like 3.5 days, you have that time, or when will I get my assets? Will I get my NFTs back or not? Will I get my 1,000 NFT collection back or not? Yes, you can. 3.5 days, you're in the governance thing. You get the wallet frozen. The next is the heavy part, the heavy lifting, establishing the ownership and everything, like making sure that, it's a fair process. And the second governance vote, again, which, the claimant is signing from his wallet. Everything is automated. No team is in charge of, in any centralized way, of acting in this whole system. Like everything is decentralized. So that's why we term it like decentralized governance. And the second vote basically is proposed to recover the assets. It's built at the protocol level, so it's not some shady business. We're not also clawing back our blockchain. We're not forking it. And so the blockchain still keeps on going. The blocks are produced straight. There's no backwards movement. And, once if the governance vote passes, the assets are returned back automatically through the governance smart contracts to the user's wallet that, the claimant. And two questions arises, whether, I could hijack the system. And there is a possibility of it. Right, but we at Energy, we have mitigated in two ways. So we have put a cap of around 100,000 Energy, the max you could have at any masternodes. So you right now are like a whale is fighting against a 10% quorum, which is close to like right now the masternode collateral is at 24 million Energy. So he has to literally buy like, over 2.5 million Energy, and he has to have that before the governance proposal. So he cannot, his vote will not apply if he purchases it after the governance proposal has been drafted. And all the system looks good on paper. So let's see what the testing looks like. So we had a hack about CoinEx hack, like $71 million on the CoinEx exchange, like about 8 months ago or 4 months ago. I'm sorry, like around in Halloween time. And we were able to safeguard close to 3 million or 2 million energy of user funds there. The vote, automatically froze the wallets. We coordinated with CoinEx on this one, and we were able to, a lot of their assets were lost, but not Energi. Energi was like one of the very few, like maybe 1 or 2 coins that were untouched. And then comes the second incident, which is, I'm not going to name the exchange. We were listed on it and they delisted it. That's up to them. That's their platform. We don't own any exchange. It's a privilege always to be on good exchanges. We respect them. But it doesn't sound good when, an exchange commandeers, or I think I would use a very harsh word, steals user funds and tries to dump on another exchange. And this is a very common practice, by the way. These exchanges are doing a predatory practices where, they're taking those funds, they're listing these small projects, microcap projects, and over a period of like 1 year, they would just delist them and then take the tokens and dump it. A very common practice. Unfortunately, some of the projects are really good. They're offering really good value. They're just caught in a really bad space in a bear market. And they would try to dump that, and they couldn't. They really couldn't, because you could see everything on the blockchain. Like nothing is hidden. We're not like Monero, like everything is hidden. You could see that exchange taking that 2 million energy and trying to dump on the other exchange. And we took the second action. The community, at Energi, decentralized governance, came to the rescue of all the community members, because it's a system by the people, for the people, as we talk about democracy, the lesser of all evils, as many people say. But we have that system in place, which is very critical, is your assets can be returned back to you if that scenario arises, and justice will be served. And that's the ultimate goal, where you see like your assets coming back to you. You are the rightful owner. That's what decentralized governance looks like in real world. We started with Simon. I'm going to name him out because I want to make sure that no scammer ever prospers in the space. Simon Tardos was one of our first and the only scammer. He's still behind. I think he's still fighting litigations and all that stuff. So he was way back in 2020. And I think close to like millions of user funds were returned back then. Simon was first scammer on Energi, and he got what he deserved, and the assets were returned back. So that's my take on decentralized governance and security and asset recovery, and how it proves to be a critical ingredient for the GMI NFT marketplace, and why along with royalties, that's our secret formula: royalties, asset security, and asset recovery for users at any point of time.
Yeah, I want to chime in on the governance thing. When you first spoke about governance, you had the red light thing. So the first thing that came to my mind was like a centralized governance. And yeah, I'm also a big fan of decentralized governance. Yeah, actually, on XP.NETWORK right now, we're moving towards becoming decentralized. It's a process that we've been working on for the past couple of months. We've finished developing the code of the bridge validators a couple of days ago. So it's a very, very a tedious thing to do, right? Because before we were working using an off-chain signature with the validators. It fit our purpose. It's fast, but it's hard to add validators, right? When you're working with an off-chain signature, we had to move to a blockchain consensus, which I actually prefer. So in this way, it's actually much more simpler to add validators, and hopefully we will reach a number. Like Energi 500 validators sounds amazing. 500 master nodes sounds very, very, very sounds great.
Yeah, and just one other thing that I want to make clear what Mark mentioned is around that certainly we have the decentralized governance from a blockchain perspective, but also we have manual processes that, you know, you have to somehow validate that I come and say it's my asset, but how do you ensure that it is me? You know, it's not somebody posing as me. And so we have this whole process, and our EBI team, you know, they come from IBM security team, so they're very familiar with this type of stuff, and has built on that process, you know, the manual validation process as well. Folks, I have to leave in a little bit. I have another meeting to attend. But Mark, if anything comes up, just ping me, you know, later on, and we'll try to get answers if you're stuck or anything.
And you know, I was having this conversation, Ruby, I think with Rami, and he was talking to me about, like, I think about like 4 months or 5 months ago, and I think you guys were talking about, I was in that meeting, I was talking about, you know, the decentralized governance infrastructure that, you know, you guys were implementing. And I do read your newsletters, and I do read your docs, and I really find it very interesting and very knowledgeable, and props up to you guys, like, you know, for taking that step. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, the community has to take the reins of crypto, right? Because that's what blockchain and decentralization is, right? Because we fought against centralization, we fought against giants like Apple, Microsoft, and Google for an open source technology, which is blockchain. We fought against institutions. This is our fight, you know. So it is our responsibility. So we're not like a regular investors where we buy the tokens and be like, I'm done. Like, this is our. If you're in crypto, you are saving yourself. You got to promote everything thick and thin. You got to promote the right practices, and I see XP.NETWORK moving towards that. Could you talk more about your validator structure as you guys are moving towards decentralized infrastructure, Ruby?
Yeah, sure. Right now, the way that it's working, we have 21 off-chain validators. It's you know, every validator is run by a team member, and we have an off-chain signature. You know, we see we have basically a smart contract on every chain, right? Every chain has a smart contract in it, and these validators, which are quite process heavy, they query blocks. They read blocks of all of the 30 blockchains that we currently are integrated to. And once we get an event from a smart contract, what happens is every validator receives this event, and each one of them approves if it indeed happened or didn't, you know, just how validators do. And what happens is then we are using some extremely complicated mathematical function that randomly chooses a validator, and it takes all of these signatures and it mints this specific NFT for the user, or releases if the user has released an NFT, and sends it to the user wallet, right? The main issue here for becoming decentralized was actually adding a proof of stake mechanism here, where users can come in and become validators, you know, dynamically. It's actually it is available in the current way, but the problem is everybody needs to come in and add this validator, right? They need to do some sort of manual process. Okay, so this is something that we had to add, a way to take XP.NET and stake, which is something that it's one of our main goals this year, increasing our tokens utility. People come in, they take XP.NET, they stake it, they become a validator. Every validator approves them in, puts them in basically, we're going to run an EVM chain that's going to be the hub of the validators, right? This is where they're going to reach consensus regarding any action that occurs across multi-chain. This is also a big change, right? You need to take the code. We've taken the code that we have worked on, you know, for years. It's a big code. There's a lot of components. There's a lot of small things. There's a lot of routers. You know, you change from this NFT protocol to this NFT protocol. There's a lot of things going on there. So we're changing the consensus mechanism to becoming on-chain, right? So what it means is you got to change a lot of the validator code, right? A lot of the smart contracts. There's a lot of audits to be taken. There's a lot of tests, a lot of checks, a lot of things to do, a lot of pen testing. There's many things to do here, right? And the main issue in becoming decentralized is actually in the beginning we will need to have sort of a proof of authority way here of adding new validators, right? Because in the beginning people can take over very easily once they're once the validator number is very small, right? When you have a small amount of validators, it doesn't take a lot of money to take over. So in the beginning, we will start a validator program. We'll publish a form in the next couple of weeks. We'll start gathering trustworthy people to come in and become validators of XP Network. And once we get a nice amount, hopefully 500, then we will open it up. No form. Everybody can come in, become a validator. You need this wall of money to protect the bridge, right? If this is what it is eventually when you are a proof of in a proof of stake form. You need the wall of money to safeguard the bridge.
Perfect. Thank you. And just to recap that, what Ruby was saying in simple terms, that as they're moving away from off-chain validation to on-chain validation, they would finally see themselves as a POS mechanism for on-chain validators, and they would start with proof of authority initially. Obviously they're trying to safeguard the system. Like every blockchain project has to do that. Like the challenge is how you're not overtaken by an evil force. If you look at Polkadot right now, it's a very interesting project that I see. They have the same governance mechanism like many other projects. Basic token holding gives you voting power, and if you go in there, you see a lot of fights going on. That's the reason why when Energy's masternode system was built, props to Tommy, Ryan, Leon, and all of those people that built that infrastructure. Might not know them, but all of you guys, the unsung heroes, and the ones that have taken the responsibility to build such a system is putting the cap at 100K prevents that network overtaking the network, hijacking that Ruby rightly mentioned. And every project has their right to to make sure that it's not being hijacked by any project. We saw that with KyberSwap, like literally an 18-year-old kid threatening grown men and grown project to be a CEO of the company. That should not. I imagine my kid, he's 8-year-old or 18-year-old, and he's threatening major institutions like FBI and CIA.
That was crazy.
Yeah. It's an 18-year-old kid, probably sitting in his pajamas in front of his computer.
I would say he's an 18-year-old genius. Yeah, an 18-year-old genius. They did it. It was crazy.
Yeah, and that's where decentralized gov comes into place, right? Because at the end of the day, the technology could get smarter. Like you have antiviruses that needs updating all the time, and so you have that vulnerability all the time. So how do you solve that? And that's where governance comes into place. Very critical component missing out from because see, the scammers on Energy, they can run. But they can't hide, right? That's that kind of scenario. They have 3.5 days to escape the entire ecosystem, which is really hard to beat. And that's why we put the email alerts in the first place. And we always do user education. Every person that is onboarded, we always request them hey, if you have a wallet, set up the wallet alerts. That's the first line of defense. So really hard. It's a very tough space because once you lose assets, only the people that lose assets, they know the pain about it. And so institutions projects like you and me, like XP.NETWORK, and Energy, they understand the gravity of situation when it comes to security. They are what I would call as proactive. So for example, this is a very good example of smoking, right? The government tries to be very proactive on curbing smoking, right? An individual does not, because he doesn't see the effects until something really bad happens, and after which there is no recourse, right? But the government sees as an organism, he can see the bad effects, it can feel it, it can feel the financial burden, it can feel the medical burden of like, the population being affected by smoking. So here's where like, the key aspect comes in, like, security becomes a key focus for institutions, an organization, blockchain organization like XP.NETWORK itself. And I missed out one of the points, and I was going to point it out, like, this is where the road converge is the validators. Those, I respect all of them, and I really have a big, respect for them, that they stood strong even during the bear market. And that's what made Energi successful, is the validators. It's the masternodes, the 500 strong, that stood all across the thin and thick of the bear market. And that what really makes the project successful. It's not, if people think like, the ticker price and all that, that doesn't make any sense. If you don't have an infrastructure, it won't function. Like Dash is one of the projects that, Energi was basically made out of. And I was just looking at Dash a couple of weeks ago, like it's dead. It's not there. And you could have a good price and a really dead project. But if you have a good utility and, a reverse situation might also exist. So yeah, really what made Energi successful is the masternodes, staying thick and thin even during the hardest times of the bear market, the depths of the bear market, which really makes governance successful. The people are what makes decentralized governance successful, and the technology comes to their aid. I'm just going to ask Nir or Ruby, like, what were your challenges making XP.NETWORK, and especially the integration part? And how did you guys manage it? And how do you basically like, manage integration? Like, how do you partner? And what are you looking for projects? Something like that.
Yeah, sure. So I'll take this one. So in terms of the process that we are going through on onboarding users and utility partners and blockchains and all together, the way that we do that is in a very, very, very traditional sense. We're just going and knocking out doors. And that means that we are approaching projects. We are telling them about XP.NETWORK. We are telling them about the partnerships that we have created and about the blockchain that we are connected to. And we are welcoming them to join in and to actually, basically, I would say like an onboarding meeting. In that meeting, we take them very, very quickly through the benefits of joining to XP.NETWORK Bridge. And the most basic benefit that fits everyone, and there is absolutely consensus on that regard, that everyone has the ability and the need to actually expand themselves to other communities with XP.NETWORK. So that means that if you are like, again, back to my example from the beginning, that if you were like an NFT project that actually minted NFTs on Ethereum, let's take Algorand, for example, or like a smaller chain that is less populated and less mainstream, you are basically siloed in an island, right? And that thing can be completely solved by less than 60 minutes connecting to XP.NETWORK. And the project gets instantly the ability to access more than 30 mainnet chains altogether and in an instant without any cost at all. The only fees that XP.NETWORK is actually taking, or I would say charging, is only by the transaction fee itself when the NFTs are actually being moved. And this is also a very small part. So there is almost absolute consensus in the regard of the need and the ability and in terms of barriers on actually coming over and joining to the XP.NETWORK bridge itself. So that's for the projects and the dApp side. From the blockchain side, this is something that we, just like with yourselves, we take more of a time to do. We make sure that all of our development team that is suitable and relevant to that blockchain, to that stack of technology, is actually being fitted, and we learn the blockchain in depth. We learn exactly all the security aspects, as Ruby mentioned, that the security is, I would say, the very first thing that stands against our decision making in every product, in every release that we are actually making, in order to maintain the trust and the build of the brand of XP.NETWORK. So altogether, what we do with blockchain is that we make sure that we are custom fitting the technology to that specific blockchain. One big aspect to that is also the performance. So we need to make sure that the performance is done right with that blockchain and that it comes and copes with all the other blockchains as well, all together. And when this is done with the blockchains, this is a process that could take anywhere between a couple of days to several months. So we really, if we need to, we really take our time with that. Sometimes it's also in the form of grants that we get from blockchains, because it's a big project to connect each of those blockchains. And once the blockchain is connected, we are basically starting to approach and also sometimes getting interest from that blockchain for different projects and NFT dApps and basically all the ecosystem that are present on that chain. And from there on, we are creating those bridges, also not just by technology, but also by communication with projects and other blockchains. And altogether, we're creating this mutual communication and pushing towards more mainstream. So this is our main goal with XP.NETWORK, and this is what we've been doing to this point. Again, we very much focus on, first of all, creating the security bridge and to make sure that the experience of the projects and the experience of the blockchains is that of complete trust and complete secure and willingness to explore that ability to actually move the NFTs and to explore other realms of possibilities for one project's NFTs or the other. So that's a quick recap on that.
I want to open the floor. I don't know if you guys have enough time. Maybe just give it like a 5-minute for anybody that do want to ask questions about in the space. If you guys want to ask any questions, please raise your hand so I can pull you up. If you guys want to really know about any of these projects, so let me know. I've also pinned 2 comments onto the in our bulletin board on the top, and you guys can basically start testing the GMI NFT platform on the testnet. So all you have to do is go follow the instruction in that short video. So I see Fox and your hands it up. Do you want to quickly? I've sent you an invitation to speak, so you might want to accept it. And if you have any questions, you might want to go ahead and ask them. Looks like we've covered most of the point. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but we'll have more spaces like these in the future. And I really thank Rami to organize all of it. Sorry, Rami, if I, didn't coordinate properly or was not up to the mark. But it was a very interesting space. I really thank Nir, Ruby. Thank you so much for explaining the entire mechanism of how the XP.NETWORK bridge works and the different blockchains that you pair up with. Any last comments before we end the space?
Nothing from me. Just wanted to say thank you for having me. Always great talking to people about security, governance, decentralization, what makes up this space. Thank you, Mark, for having me.
Oh, no, thank you. Pleasure is all ours. Thank you, Ruby and Nir. Thank you for taking time off your precious, work schedule. I know you guys are a lot busy. Managing 30 chains is not an easy job. But thank you so much. And thank you for, building a good infrastructure that we could utilize in the future. If you guys are tight in time, that's okay. But I just want to make sure that, Foxen, he raised his hands. I would just like to let him speak. You want to go ahead quickly, Foxen?
Yeah, sure. We could take
Perfect.
a question.
Thank you, Nir.
Sure thing. No, the question I always ask bridges in any organization or company that has them is who maintains control of the asset during the bridge? Who has custody of the asset during the bridge?
Yeah, so the assets are locked in the smart contract, right? The validators, basically, the validators themselves maintain the custody of the assets, right? They have the way to unlock them, not to burn, but to unlock, original NFTs, or to burn them once they're sent to the bridge again, right? Once the asset leaves the bridge, basically the user handles it, right? But the original asset, when it is locked on the smart contracts, the bridge validators maintain the custody of the NFTs.
Okay, perfect. And that's on the XP network for this instance, correct?
Exactly.
All right. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Perfect. Looks like we're
right. Final note for myself is again joining into Ruby. Also, thank you, Foxen, for the question. Mark, thank you for having us. Appreciating it, and we are very much glad to meet your community and to be talking about everything that XP.NETWORK and Energi are up to. And we're very much looking forward to see both XP.NETWORK and Energi creating any sort of integration and moving forward and pushing over the multi-chain and unified future for
same here. Much love and appreciation for hard work, and all the very best for both the futures together or both the projects. Saying that, remember that you can always test the GMI NFT marketplace on the testnet. It's live. You just have to get the testnet. You can start buying and selling those NFTs. And don't forget, like, Tommy will be on the Killer Whale show on March 7th. So there's a lot of things going on. Like, I've been only sleeping 4 hours a day. No, that's not a joke. It's a reality, but that's what excites me, right? We're building.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. I was just thinking last night, like, why is there only less than 20? Why are there only 24 hours in a day? Why can't there be more? So yeah, but we are builders, right? That excites us.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions, follow each other's account, keep tabs on, what the recent developments happening. Tweet out this space. Thank you so much for attending this space. This has been great. Thank you so much. We'll have more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. See you soon.